Mike just turned 25 this year. He's just 25 years old, and he's already lost 55% of his hair. That day his father asked for an old remedy for hair loss. Freshly baked cow dung mixed with children's urine, and rubbed it evenly on his head. The experts also said that hair loss was due to a lack of blood supply to the brain. Mike immediately started doing handstands again. Whether he was going to the bathroom or reading a book, he always kept his head up. As expected, his hair still fell out. Isn't it true that everyone has hair on their body? How come there's no hair on Mike's body? Mike thought it must be God's punishment, because when he was a kid, Mike had a thick head of hair. He had a lot of fans at a young age, but then Mike went off the rails. He made fun of his bald teacher and Mary's skin color, until he grew up to be a hairless man, too. His girlfriend ran off with someone else. No sales job, bald at a young age. His career and his love were both in jeopardy. Looking at the dog's luxuriant hair, Mike was envious. His friends advised him to wear a wig, but Mike refused to do it. He wanted real hair. It was his last vestige of dignity. That day, his brother came up with a new way to get a hair transplant, but the doctor told him it was possible, but he had to use his own hair. Mike was furious. He couldn't do that. That day, his family arranged for him to go on a blind date. Mike was a little nervous, but luckily, he had a good barber buddy. Gave Mike's hair the right shape, and then he sprinkled a black powder on it. After a lot of work, Mike became a young man of spirit. The girl took an immediate liking to him. The two of them talked more and more, but then the fountain behind him suddenly started, and once again, he missed out on true love. Because of his baldness, Mike has been under a lot of pressure beyond his age. He used to be a promising young man. Now he's suffering from baldness. The more he thought about it, the more he blamed his dad, because he didn't have a single hair left. He thought he must have inherited it from his father, but he was in his prime and couldn't find a wife. That day, his father snuck into his room. He brought him a mysterious gift, a wig. This man suffered from baldness. He shaved off the last few strands of hair on his head, sprayed and waxed. After all that work, Mike's head was as bright as a light bulb. He finally gave in and decided to wear a wig. With hair, Mike's face value skyrocketed. The return of his hair made him feel confident. When he saw his favorite goddess taking a selfie, he took the initiative to talk to her. He took a video with her. Funny and humorous character. Soon won the heart of the goddess. The two of them have a very good understanding of each other and often shoot videos together. The number of hits was very high. The number of fans of the goddess rose steadily. They quickly fell in love. Not only that, hair mic sales are getting better and better. It's true that this is the age of beauty. Soon after, Jenny proposed to get married. Listening to her dream wedding, Mike was delighted. But more than anything, he was nervous. He hadn't forgotten that he was bald. As the wedding day approached, Mike wanted to tell Jenny the truth and let her decide. His buddy went to tell him not to be silly. We're a man's society in India. Once you're married, she'll have to accept it, even if you're not very good at it. But after thinking about it, Mike couldn't stand the thought of it. He sent a text message to Jenny. If you forgive me, call me back. If not, I'll never bother you again. Soon after, he received a call from Jenny. Jenny said she was busy planning her wedding. Mike was so touched. He vowed to be good to her. The next day, the wedding was held as scheduled. A group of people were waiting to welcome the bride. While this was going on, a relative came over and asked Mike what happened to the text message sent to him yesterday. He realized he had sent the text to the wrong person, but he had no choice but to go through with the wedding. On the night of the wedding, the bride was in bed, getting dressed. Mike was alone in the bathroom. He could almost see it coming. If his girlfriend found out he was bald, what a catastrophic scenario it would be. He came out of the bathroom prepared. Luckily, the bride was already asleep. He was able to make it through his wedding night. The next morning, Mary came to the house and made a big fuss. It turned out that Mary was his elementary school classmate. Mike has been teasing her about her skin color since she was a child. Recently, Mary's mom even asked Mike to make her daughter's photo whiter, so that she could go on a blind date. But Mary felt that Mike was trying to humiliate her. She angrily taunted Mike about his baldness. Jenny overheard her. She rushed down the stairs and ripped off his wig. Do you suffer from baldness? If so, take a look at him. On the first day of her marriage, her daughter-in-law went back to her mother's house. She couldn't accept that her husband was bald. Mike chased her all the way back to her mother's house. He said all the right things, but his wife wouldn't go back. To her, looks are the most important thing. She became an internet celebrity because of her looks. It's not good enough that her husband is bald. Michael went home in a state of despair. It wasn't long before he received a summons from the court. Jenny accused him of fraud and filed for an annulment. In addition, she demanded $1 million in damages. Overnight, the news that the internet beauty was cheated by a bald man to get married, spread all over the streets. Their story was published in the newspaper. Jenny's fans were screaming at her door every day. Mike had no choice but to turn to Mary. She was a lawyer. Out of guilt, she agreed to defend Mike in court. On the day of the trial, the former lovers now exchanged insults. Mary accused Jenny of profiling, and the other lawyer said that Mike had broken the marriage laws. Each side had its own version of the story. Mary had the upper hand, but Jenny spoke up. The mirrors in the house were half blocked. He couldn't even face it himself. Why should he ask his wife to put up with it? It was a statement that shattered Mike's defenses. Yeah, it wasn't fair to Jenny. He asked the judge to annul the marriage. After the divorce, Mike went back to selling skin lightening creams. He continued to disparage dark skin and preaching the virtues of light skin. But this time, as he looked down at the anxious faces, he couldn't go on. Instead, he spoke from his heart. Why change at all? Yes, there was no need to change. Bala threw away the wig, and he became a new man. No one is perfect.